Okay. So everybody, thank you for coming to the privacy talk. I'm quite be very honored and we are to be invited from Italy. So yeah, thank you for coming this moment to the privacy talk.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, great to having a conversation today. The first of all, I'd like to introduce his profile. He's regulatory affairs the lead for South Europe and academic outreach Europe at Google. He leads on the regulatory issues and campaign in Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, Malta, and Cyprus, along with managing the academic outreach in Europe. He is also associate professor of comparative law and new technologies law and director of No Law Lab at the European University of Roma and visiting professor in biotechnology law at National University of Singapore. He authored many scientific publications, among which the books Smart Contracts and Comparative Law, Springer 2021, and Biotechnological Inventions and Patentability of Life, Edward Elgar, 2015. Previously, Mr. Staci was advisor to the chairman of the Italian Communications Authority and to the Italian Undersecretary of Defense. Visiting professor in law and technology at the Singapore Management University, research associate at Praxco, University of Buenos Aires, Max Planck Institute for Competition and IP Law of Munich, Institute for Information Law of the University Amsterdam, and coordinator of the Master in Competition and Innovation Law at Swiss University of Rome, and adjunct professor at the University of Bologna. PhD in competition law, he participated in the executive programs in negotiation and leadership at Harvard University and exponential technology at Singularity Universities. So that's very great to be honored to have a talk with you this moment. So let's get started the first agenda. We had talked about the many things so far. Then I'm quite interested in why you are getting to come to this technology and law space. So could you tell me about your history? So why you get interested in this space and what are you doing this moment?
Yes, thanks a lot again for having me. Since my graduation, I've always been dealing and studying uh, these kind of issues related to law and policy. I've always been thinking about innovation, technologies, emerging technologies in particular, as the new frontier and I mean a field full of interesting challenges for law and policy, and especially for the balancing of fundamental rights. That's always been, in my opinion, the way to navigate these kind of challenges. And applying that kind of method, I've always been trying to deal with the next emerging issue and to try to understand as much as possible I mean, having studied law, and the technical and the economic aspect of these issues, and then trying to understand and to apply the legal and policy profiles.
Thank you. Yeah, you have a very quite a diverse experience, not just only for the law and technology, but also the new fields such as the blockchain, and there is the very advanced field. So, why you are so interested in those new technical field, and what did you get involved in those space? So could you tell us about the history of that?
Sure. I mean, the emerging technologies do fascinate me. Recently, I've been studying in particular biotechnology law and blockchain law and policy as well. Why? The reason is that they are changing our life, and not only not only technical innovations, but are in some cases already, in other are going to change our life forever. And fortunately, we had the pandemic to highlight how much biotechnology is changing our life and can improve our life and our health. But there are plenty of applications out there, and so that's why since recent years I've been studying and writing about that, and especially focusing on the fundamental rights issue and on the bioethical aspects along with the legal, economic, technology. Uh, the same applies to blockchain. I think that blockchain, Web3, and smart contracts, NFTs, etc., are are already in some way and are going to change not only the technological environment and our interaction from the social and economic point of view, but also our life more and more in the next years and decades. And so I wanted to study and to deepen those issues as soon as possible to better understand as much as I can and think about them and try to analyze the complex issues arising from them and writing some pieces of research.
There is a very great work. I have been reading some of your publication. There has been a very good inspirations for the new people to come to the tech space. So in addition, your expertise at the new technology field, you working at the private company in Google. So could you tell us your role at the Google's and why did you get started at this company?
Absolutely. At Google, I lead the work of the government affairs and public policy teams for Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, Malta, and Cyprus, coordinating the work on the main regulatory issues, campaigns, and projects which have a European, South European, or national dimension. And so I deal with the key regulatory issues that interest the company. And at the same time, I also serve as a reference point for the academic outreach in Europe, to provide academics with some useful information, knowledge, data support, and to build relationships with the universities, research centers, and think tanks.
Thank you. At the Google, so you have several experience, not just in current role, but also you have the other regions. So is there any change this, since you have started the role at the Google related to the privacy issues? Because the privacy is becoming serious in compared to the some years ago, but then now it's been a very pressing to the big tech companies. So is there any change the strategy for the compliances or relationship with the stakeholders?
Thank you. Yeah, the attention of the regulators in Europe and all over the world to the internet and to regulate the internet has been growing, as we know. Uh, Privacy, we had, for example, in Europe, the GDPR was a key legislation that is influencing all over the world. At Google, we are committed to complying with applicable data protection laws. Uh, I mean, not only from the since the GDPR, but since I would say since ever. We are always working to stay compliant, which helps make compliance easier for the business and to keep the user trust. That's the most important goods for us and for the relationship with our users. Third parties audit us regularly. We maintain certifications, provide industry standard contractual protections, and share tools and information that people and developers can use to strengthen the business compliance also in other companies. Keeping users' information safe, secure, and private is among our highest priorities for sure. Over the years, we have worked closely with data protection authorities around the world, and we have implemented strong privacy protections that reflect their guidance. Privacy regulation for sure is changing. We know that it's important. I mean, that the products are both compliant with all applicable data protection laws and they use personal data in ways that are compliant at the same time. Where we act as a processor of personal data, we make available data processing terms reflecting the controller-processor relationship where required. Additionally, for products where Google and the customer each act as independent controllers of personal data, we have updated our agreements or made available terms that reflect that status. Publishers and advertisers who use our advertising and measurement products globally must comply with our EU user consent policy and are required to collect consent from the European Economic Area users for personal advertising and use of cookies, local storage on their sites and apps. So, for example, if you are a publisher or advertiser using Google advertising and measurement services, you'll need to take steps to make sure user preferences are respected to meet the requirements of the policy. The GDPR, in fact, requires companies to meet certain conditions before transferring personal data outside European Economic Area, Switzerland, UK. Waiting for the agreement that will arrive soon on a new transatlantic data privacy framework to comply with this requirement, adoption of the transatlantic data privacy framework, Google relies on standard contractual clauses for relevant transfers in our ads and measurement products. In June 21st, regarding this point, European Commission published new standard contractual clauses to help safeguard European personal data. Google has incorporated the new standard contractual clauses into our contracts, which will help protect our customers and users' data and meet the requirement of European privacy laws. And we keep cooperating and being in touch with the data protection authorities to keep our compliance today.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that Google is one of the very committing to the privacy, the compliance in the world. So that is a very great reference. The other companies try to be in the protected personal data. That is very important to keep in safe of the users and also to protect the fundamental rights. So I think that you are leading a very important project in the South Europe. So that's a consumer empowerment project. I had a talk with the some organizers such as the Mr. Marco. That he's leading this project at the consumer organization side. But you are in the Google side. They worked together to create a good place for good movement for the consumer. So why the Google has been engage those kind of the new initiatives, and also that you work with the multi-stakeholders. So could you tell us about it?
Sure, thank you for your question. I do love the Consumer Empowerment Project, which is a project co-founded by Euroconsumers and Google, and is a first of its kind initiative. It's basically a new space where consumer organizations, civil society, and industry join forces and engage in constructive and open and dialectic collaboration to address consumer issues and enable them to make better informed decisions. Its mission is to empower consumers through dialogue, and the initial focus themes underpinning its activities and initiatives will be responsible digital transformation and sustainability. The initiative is open for consumer associations, civil society organizations, and all the companies to join as members. The Consumer Empowerment Project will represent then a novel multi-stakeholder voice in the consumer debate. Let me just mention two um, aspects of this project. One is the Consumer Leadership Academy. The Consumer Leadership Academy is a 3-day course developed in partnership with the Bocconi University and the IE Madrid University that will bring together experts across the board of consumer issues, including policymakers and industry, to discuss different topics shaping the future of consumerism, with a particular focus, as I mentioned, on digital transformation and sustainability. The first edition was held last month at the Bocconi University in Milan. The next edition will take place in the IE Madrid University next year. The first edition was a fantastic 3 days at Bocconi in Milan with great speakers who stimulated informed discussion from all sides of the major policy debates shaping the future of consumers. The participants of the first edition will bring home a precious wealth of knowledge essential to better face the challenges of digital transformation and sustainability. The Consumer Empowerment Index is a consumer empowerment project, flagship research project. The index will offer insights of how consumer access and share information digitally and provide evidence-based data that can inform the consumer policy debate. The index will be an open tool that everyone can benefit from, extract data, and analyze. The index aims basically to measure the impact of digitization on consumer experience, benchmark member states against peers and highlight best practices, provide recommendations to help improve consumer experience, and track performance over time of EU countries in a standardized way. These are just two initial examples of concrete outcomes of this project, and we really look forward to the next steps and the next initiatives within the project and the next members of the project.
Sounds very great. So that's additional questions. You are expecting of this project to create a more consumer inclusions. So could you tell us why did you conceive this project? For example, like the consumer is the more priorities for the Google. Of course, included of the regulatory or authority as well, but the consumer becomes the importance of your strategy. So could you give us any reasons why you try to commit it of the consumer empowerment project?
Yeah, absolutely. For basically for two reasons. First is that user is we build our products thinking of users, so as user centric, thinking of first of all of user experience, along with compliance with existing legislation. But user experience and user protection are absolutely key in building and designing our products. And at the same time, the other reason is the trust relationship that we do want to have with our users. And, and we think that the most effective way to keep that trust relationship is to empower, uh, along with informing them, along with providing them all the tools to protect themselves, but to empower them to be the main character of their own protection of their fundamental rights. And that's why we keep and we engage so much, not only with public institutions, but with consumer associations and with many other stakeholders to learn and to find ways to empower more and more users and to educate as well them to use the tools we provide to protect their rights.
That sounds very great. So we always using the Google service. So becoming a privacy orientation that could be very beneficial to the user side, the consumer side, can be a more safer using. That's very great initiative from my understanding of the consumer side. So you also at the Google is working the different initiative, which means that you work on the South EU Google data governance tier. So could you share what is this project, and also why did you start it this kind of the thing as well?
Yes, with pleasure. Thanks for your question. The Google Share on Originally, the Google Share on Privacy, Society and Innovation was created at the CEU San Pablo University of Madrid in 2012. It was the first of its kind created in Europe. One of the essential goals of the Google Share on Privacy, Society and Innovation during these 10 years was the study of the array of legal aspects raised in every technological innovation requiring the use of personal data to operate. The chair essential mission was making progress in the knowledge and development of this field, achieving the creation of a real meeting place for all the actors who work in the area of technological innovation, privacy, and data protection in our society. From a multidisciplinary perspective, that's key for the work of the chair. The chair analyzed the effect on the right to privacy that the use of certain technologies and applications may have used in regard to social media, big data, data-driven innovation, smartphones, geolocation techniques, artificial intelligence, as well as the impact of all these technologies on our global society. In these years, then the chair dealt with many key issues from cyber justice to international data collection, privacy and technological companies, cyber security and consumer rights to e-commerce, the challenges of multinationals against privacy, security and innovation, including the regulatory framework for privacy as a pull factor for the digital economy, and the big data and the right to be free. Since its creation, the chair has become an authoritative center for reflection on the main current challenges with regard to new technologies and privacy, and a forum for the exchange of ideas with an international outreach for all those whose scientific or professional activity is focusing in this field of knowledge and research. The chair, for example, has been collaborating with government representatives, data protection authorities, the European Data Protection Supervisor, as well as with international scholars and experts from Europe and all over the world. In June 2021, the South EU Google Data Governance Chair was launched. The board headed by Professor José Luis Piñar, former shareholder of the Google share on privacy, society, and innovation, and former Spanish. The board counts with Professors Maria de Gracia Canto Moniz from Nova University of Lisbon, Georgios Yiannopoulos from University of Athens, and Vincenzo Zanozenkovic from University of Roma 3. And this new South European chair will focus on scientific reflection and research in the academic field on data governance in the context of South European, and more broadly of European countries. And the goal is to provide a strong, authoritative, and academic independent contribution and thoughts and lines of research to the European and global debate on privacy and data protection, and all the challenges posed by the development of innovation and digital technologies.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that your work is pretty important and collaborative with the multi-stakeholders, not just limited to the one single entities. Try to combine the knowledge and experience to the creation for the new innovations. From experience, I would like to ask you, that's the what do you envision of the future collaborations among the big tech companies and the stakeholders? Because the big tech company is not just a one company, it's just more kind of the social infrastructures that we use every times every day, than just searching on Google and using any other Google services for the business and other consumers. So what do you envision to collaborate with the stakeholders?
Yes, thank you. I mean, along with building innovative products and services for our users that improve our lives and help organize the world information, we feel as a leading tech company to the responsibility to collaborate with many stakeholders, from the public sector to NGOs, to consumer trade association, to academics, thanks experts, to help build the knowledge and the information and the education and the regulation of the digital ecosystem and of our future. So we do feel that this multi-stakeholder approach can be key, can be very useful to this in this perspective, and we keep working and investing and cooperating with all these stakeholders around Europe and around the world, to double down and to reinforce these kind of projects. We mentioned two examples in particular, but we have plenty of these projects around the world. Exactly to provide our contribution to the goals that I mentioned before, and we hope to a better future of with a lot of innovative products and services, and our life that's protected offline and offline and online through the best available tools from the technological point of view, and complying with the existing regulations.
Yeah, that's very good message and very inspired me. So could you give us roughly the message to the listeners, because you have a several experience. Of course, you are part of the Google, but you also there's some tech space or any other entities that working on the some of the authorities related work, as well as you have academic experience. So could you give us your message to the listeners from experience?
Yes, with pleasure. My message is to 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 deepen our knowledge. We are giving our contribution, empowering users, investing, collaborating with many stakeholders on education and on providing ideas for regulation. But it's key that each of the different players of the digital ecosystem and of our online environment I mean, does her or his part to educate herself himself and to get as much knowledge as possible on what's going on what's available online, on the different sources of information, to be able to distinguish the different kind of information, and to be able to protect our own fundamental rights and using tools that are made available by the service providers.
Thank you for the great message. I'm quite delighted to have a conversation with you, learning a lot of the things from the experience, the work that we should to harmonize the collaborations with the more stakeholders to create a more better societies, the privacy and the safety environment. So again, thank you for having this conversation this moment. Yeah, glad to have a talk with you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.